Anyone who has any understanding of health knows that unless you are on a totally raw food diet, you should take digestive enzyme supplements every time you eat. In fact, I consider digestive enzymes to be the single most important supplement that I take every day with every meal. If you are not regularly using digestive enzyme supplements, then let's take a few minutes to explore how this simple, inexpensive step can dramatically improve your health and vitality. There are tens of thousands of different enzymes in the human body that regulate every metabolic function needed to keep you alive. In essence, it is these thousands of enzymes that make life happen. But when it comes to digesting food, there are only a handful of enzymes that you need to worry about. Even so, choosing which ones to include in a supplement and the ratios in which to include them can be a daunting task for formulators, not to mention for consumers when it comes to choosing which formula to buy. Before we get into the details of what constitutes the ideal digestive enzyme formula, though, let's review why we need to use such a formula. Since all live foods have enzymes present in them that promote their own breakdown, nature, in a sense, expects you to eat enzyme-rich food and to chew it properly so that it thoroughly mixes with your saliva, which is also enzyme-rich. If you do that, the food enters your stomach laced with digestive enzymes. These enzymes then predigest your food for about an hour, actually breaking down as much as 75% of your meal, before acid and pepsin enter the picture to continue the process of breaking down your meal, and specifically the proteins in that meal. About an hour after stomach acid is introduced, the nutrient-rich concentrate produced in your stomach moves on to the small intestine where the acid is neutralized by the bicarbonate released from your pancreas, the enzymes that were inactivated by your stomach are reactivated, and the pancreas introduces, along with the bicarbonate, whatever amount of digestive enzymes are needed to finish the job. As digestion is completed in the small intestine, nutrients are then passed through the intestinal wall and into the bloodstream. The bottom line is that before any of the food you eat reaches your body's cells, all the protein is broken down into amino acids, fats into fatty acids, and carbohydrates into glucose, or at least they should be. That's what nature intended. Unfortunately, cooking and processing play havoc with the process. Any sustained heat of as little as 118 to 129 degrees destroys virtually all enzymes, thereby disrupting your entire digestive process. In addition, most forms of food processing destroy enzymes as well. The net result is that, for most of us, the food we eat is severely enzyme deficient, forcing your body to release more stomach acid than normal to compensate. Also, over time, your body trains itself to pack your saliva with more amylase. Amylase levels in the saliva of people who eat a modern diet are as much as 40 times higher than normal. But even that's not enough. Without enzymes predigesting your food, the meal enters the small intestine largely undigested. This forces the body to compensate yet one more time as your pancreas must pump out huge quantities of enzymes to break down this largely undigested mush. Over time, your pancreas literally burns itself out and can no longer produce sufficient enzymes to fully digest the food you eat. Quite simply, you lose the ability to fully extract energy and nutrients from your meals. Is it any wonder that over 60 million people in the United States are affected with digestive disorders? Regular supplementation with digestive enzymes minimizes the assault on your stomach, reduces the overproduction of hydrochloric acid, takes stress off the pancreas, maximizes the extraction of energy and nutrients, and prevents the draining of your body's enzyme reserves. All by reintroducing the enzymes required for digestion as nature intended. In other words, a well-designed digestive enzyme supplement just may be one of the best insurance policies you can give your body to enjoy a long and healthy life. Now let's take a look at what an ideal digestive enzyme supplement looks like. Many people think that designing a digestive enzyme formula is as simple as racking up big numbers in the key enzymes. Some companies go so far as to present tables in their literature comparing the protease levels in their formula to the levels found in competitors' formulas, with the implied understanding that he who has the most wins. If only it were that simple. The fact is that a good digestive enzyme formula needs to work with real diets, and we eat a lot more than just protein. In truth, too many formulas on the market include far more protease than is needed for a typical diet, simply to show a big number on the label. They also have far too little amylase or lactase, not to mention almost none of the specialized carbohydrate enzymes that are also necessary for complete digestion. Remember, you can only fit so much inside a capsule. If you add more of one ingredient, by definition you have less of something else. Another factor to consider is that we want to make sure that the enzymes used in your formula are vegetarian sourced. Vegetarian enzymes, primarily fungal-based, are more acid stable than animal-sourced enzymes and work in a wider range of pH environments. In addition, their activity levels are more consistent. They're less likely to be contaminated with pesticides and xenoestrogens, and they're also less likely to contain prions, a concern relative to mad cow disease and its human manifestation, Creutzfeldt-Jakob disease. Next, when it comes to choosing a digestive enzyme formula, there are some things to avoid. First, avoid watered-down formulas. It's hard enough to pack all of the enzyme activity you need into a 500 milligram capsule, and yet so many enzyme formulas stuff their enzyme capsules with more herbs than enzymes because having more ingredients looks good on the label. There's nothing wrong with herbs, they just don't belong in a digestive enzyme capsule. Also, when buying a digestive enzyme formula, you need to look at activity levels, not milligrams. If a label only lists amounts and not activity levels, it's not very useful. Okay, now it's time to talk about what enzymes we actually need in our digestive enzyme formula. And let's begin with protease. After all, it's what most companies brag about. But even when limiting our discussion to just protease, things are a bit more subtle than just how large the numbers are. It's not just a question of how much protease you have, but also how effective that protease is in the different pH environments the formula will encounter as it moves through the digestive tract. Remember, in a healthy digestive system, we're looking at a neutral pH during predigestion, shifting to highly acidic, and then alkaline as the food leaves your stomach and enters the intestinal tract. The problem is that proteins need to be broken down in all three environments. Essentially, you have to use more than one source of protease, and one of them has to be acid stable. This is a fairly simple concept, but it is amazing how many companies ignore it in their formulas. Make sure you don't when purchasing your formula. Incidentally, a number of companies use enteric-coated capsules with their digestive enzymes to protect them from stomach acid. Big mistake. By not releasing in the stomach, the enzymes can't help with predigestion, and the amount of enzyme predigestion that takes place in your stomach is a key factor in two crucial signals sent to your body. First, the less predigestion that takes place, the more stomach acid your body will produce to compensate for that lack of predigestion. This has profound implications for both acid reflux and for the ability of your body to produce sufficient stomach acid as you age. Overproduce in the short term, and you'll burn out your ability to produce in the long term. Second, the more stomach acid produced as a result of insufficient predigestion, the greater the amount of bicarbonate and pancreatic enzymes that your pancreas is forced to produce to compensate. The net result is the greater the workload on your pancreas in the near term, the less it will be able to do its job as you age. In addition to digesting proteins, we also need to be concerned about breaking down fats. For this we use lipase, which is actually the simplest of the enzymes to deal with. It's fairly acid stable and it works on pretty much all fats, aided later in the digestive process by bile produced in the liver. As long as you have enough lipase in your formula, you're pretty well covered, although some people may need to add bile salts to their supplementation program if their livers are not producing adequately or their gallbladders are blocked. It's when it comes to carbohydrates, though, that we begin to separate the men from the boys in the world of digestive enzyme formulas. This is where a formula designed for real-world diets moves ahead of formulas designed to look good in marketing materials. The simple truth is, there is no one carbohydrate enzyme that breaks down all carbs. Thinking that just including lots of amylase in your formula will do the trick is going to leave you disappointed. You need specialized enzymes. But let's start with amylase. Amylase helps your body break down and assimilate starches and carbohydrates, but it only starts the process. Amylase breaks long-chain carbohydrates into smaller carbohydrates, specifically disaccharides and trisaccharides. At this point, we need the specialized enzymes I mentioned to convert what are essentially large sugar molecules into simple glucose, which is what your body actually uses to produce energy. These include lactase, to digest dairy sugar. Note, even if you don't eat dairy products at home, they are added to many foods you eat in restaurants. Then there's glucoamylase, which assures the breakdown of maltose or malt sugar into glucose molecules. The action of glucoamylase completes what amylase starts. It ends in the release of glucose. And then there's invertase, which works to break down sucrose products like refined table sugar. The abundance of processed and highly refined foods in the average diet means we consume a great amount of this type of sugar, which can contribute to digestive stress. In addition, it's been theorized that sucrose intolerance may be a contributing factor in many allergies. Supplemental invertase enzymes can increase the assimilation and utilization of this sugar, while at the same time minimizing any possible allergic responses. We also want malt diastase, also known as maltase, to digest complex and simple sugars. In addition, maltase breaks down unused glycogen in muscle tissue. Glycogen is a thick, sticky substance that is converted from sugars and starches and is stored in your muscle cells for future use. If stored glycogen builds up excessively in muscle tissue, it leads to progressive muscle weakness and degeneration. Shifting gears a little bit, there's another form of carbohydrate we need to deal with: fiber. You don't want cellulase in your formula to digest and absorb cellulose, but to facilitate its breakdown so that you can access the nutrients locked within the fiber. Many beneficial micronutrients, carotenoids in carrots, polyphenols in berries, enzymes and folate in beans, spinach, and broccoli, for example, are all bound to the fiber of the plant they're found in. If you don't break the fiber down, you can't access the nutrients. Hemicellulase completes the job that cellulase starts by helping break down fiber components in the digestive tract, again releasing the carotenoids, polyphenols, and other phytochemicals bound to the fiber. Now, on a slightly different note, there's pectinase, which breaks down the complex fiber pectin. Now, the reason we want it in our formula is because breaking down pectin helps with the digestion of proteins. Research indicates that the pectin found in foods coats proteins eaten in the same meal, thereby inhibiting their complete digestion. Pectinase breaks down the pectin coating the proteins, thus allowing for more complete digestion of those proteins, and thus reducing the possibility of food allergies. And finally, there's alpha-galactosidase, which helps minimize gas, bloating, and flatulence caused by carbohydrates found in certain foods, such as beans, that are not readily digested in the small intestine. Undigested, these carbohydrates then pass into the large intestine, where they are fermented by bacteria and produce gas, bloating, pain, and general discomfort. The use of supplemental alpha-galactosidase minimizes this problem. So now we should understand what Dr. Howell meant in his book, Enzyme Nutrition, when he said that a person's lifespan is directly related to the exhaustion of their enzyme potential, and that the use of food enzymes decreases the rate of exhaustion and thus results in a longer, healthier, and more vital life. But in addition to a longer, healthier, and more vital life, you may also experience a number of short-term benefits, including a significant reduction in indigestion and heartburn problems resulting from too much acid in the stomach, relief from gas and bloating as a result of improved carbohydrate digestion, relief from acid reflux and some of the symptoms associated with hiatal hernias, improved digestion of dairy products caused by lactose intolerance, diminished food allergies due to more complete protein and sucrose digestion, an increase in energy levels as a result of greatly reduced stress on the body, and finally, regular use of enzymes to aid digestion may provide relief from ulcers. In conclusion, the good news for the average person is that supplementing with a good digestive enzyme formula designed for the real world goes a long way to improving both how your body works and how it feels.